And Nancy Cordes following all the action there on Capitol Hill. And so let's get to it here, Nancy. Senator Sessions, again, as we just saw in the piece, faced a lot of criticism for comments that he's made in the past regarding race. A game plan then is what to address it?
Well, first of all, he's going to address it head on in his opening remarks, according to the testimony that we've gotten from the Trump transition team. He's going to say that he understands that discrimination has had a horrendous impact, in his words, on the African-American community, on other minority groups, and that as Attorney General, he will be well aware of that and he will work to reverse it. But that has not swayed any Democrats just yet, Josh, and that's why you see these Democratic members of Congress, not just New Jersey's Cory Booker, but also civil rights icon John Lewis, a congressman who is going to be taking this extraordinary step of testifying against a sitting senator for Attorney General.
Yeah, it was remarkable to think, again, in the 1980s, he was denied a federal judgeship by a Republican-led committee as a Reagan appointee. And so we do expect to hear opposition. You mentioned it's a very rare move, but let's talk about the Senator Cory Booker. Obviously, perhaps with ambitions of his own, but what do we expect from him and what can be gained?
Well, Democrats are a little bit frustrated because when they went to the Republican leadership with a request to have these members of Congress testify against Sessions, they were told that they would be allowed, but that they would have to wait not only until Sessions himself was done testifying today, but also there's going to be an entire 9-member panel of people testifying for and against Sessions that will go before these members of Congress. So we may not even see them until the late afternoon. Senator Dianne Feinstein, who is the top Democrat on this committee, said she's very angry about it. She thinks it's a big slight, but clearly Republican leadership did not want to see immediately after Senator Sessions testified a pair of African-American lawmakers testifying against him and calling his civil rights record into question. I think, Josh, what they are going to focus on, more so than these comments that he may or may not have made decades ago, what they say they're more concerned about is his voting record more recently, his record being against criminal justice reform, his record criticizing parts of the Voting Rights Act, his record when it comes to the Dreamers, young children who were brought here illegally and now continue to live in the United States, the only home that they've ever known. Those are the kinds of things that you're going to see Democrats, in particular these 2 Democrats testifying against him, talk about today.
And again, after his initial testimony, politics at play in confirmation hearings. I just refuse to believe it there, Nancy. Later this afternoon, we're also going to hear from retired General John Kelly, nominated for Secretary of Homeland Security. There will be challenges aplenty for each nominee. What will Kelly face?
You know, you won't see the kind of challenge to Kelly that you're going to see towards Sessions, because he's someone that Democrats know pretty well and they have a lot of respect for as a highly decorated retired Marine Corps general. He's probably not the person who would be their first choice for Homeland Security Secretary. He's known to be very hawkish when it comes to border security, but they were never going to get someone who was going to be their first choice, and they accept that. Beyond that, they do think that he's someone who can perform in the role that he's been selected to do. And so they'll have a lot of questions for him, for example, about how he views the Trump administration's policies going forward when it comes to policing the border, enforcing border security, and enforcing laws more broadly when it pertains to immigration. But you're not going to see the kind of drama, most likely, that we're seeing here this morning surrounding the Sessions confirmation hearing. I mean, the Russell Senate Office building where this hearing is taking place is just packed, Josh, and there are lines of people in the corridors waiting to get into what they're expecting will be a blockbuster hearing. They're clearly not all going to get in, but it's just a sign of how much interest there is in President Trump's nominees in general and in this nominee in particular.
Certainly, and I want to get you out of here on this one, Nancy, but the intense partisanship here in play as well. Questions leading up, really, I'm sure, until the first hearing is gavelled in regarding the vetting of these nominees and whether background checks have been able to have been completed. I know Democrats are up in arms about that collectively as well. Where do things stand right now?
Well, we did see late last night one of President Trump's nominees who was supposed to have her confirmation hearing this week, Betsy DeVos for Education Secretary, get postponed for a week because all of her paperwork, we're told, was not in. She is a multi-billionaire. That does complicate things because the Office of Government Ethics essentially needs to pore over her financial disclosure forms and look for potential conflicts of interest. This is not a simple process when you've got a cabinet filled with millionaires and billionaires. By contrast, the Obama administration, Mr. Obama nominated one billionaire, Penny Pritzker, to be the Secretary of Commerce, and we're told that that process took about 6 months just to wade through all of her varied holdings and try to determine whether she was going to have a conflict of interest or two as Secretary of Commerce. And so what Democrats have been arguing is that Republicans are moving too fast. These people's paperwork is not in. They haven't been properly vetted and scrutinized. Republicans have said, you know, everything is going to be in eventually. We're not going to change the schedule, but they did appear to make this one exception when it came to DeVos, who has a lot of money and apparently didn't have a lot of paperwork in very quickly.
You mentioned, again, the interest here and the scrutiny, certainly intense and certainly appropriate given the stakes. And I know, Nancy, you will be all over it for us all day and all week. Nancy Cordes there on the Hill. We do appreciate it.
You got it, Josh.